So imagine hitting the reset button on your brain every night. So that's what good sleep does for us. It rejuvenates our mind and our body, preparing you for whatever you have going on tomorrow and whatever gets thrown your way the next day. So if you could think about your body as a smartphone, and just as phones need to be recharged for the battery so it can function optimally, your body needs quality sleep to recharge its own energy reserves. And neglecting to charge your phone leaves it not in a good place. It's sluggish and unresponsive. Oh, and maybe it doesn't work at all. It won't even turn on at all. And so the same thing goes for your body. Without restful sleep, your body is not as charged and invigorated and energetic as it could be. All right. So here's a few questions for you as we look at sleep today. We're going to talk about the stages of sleep, the benefits of better sleep, some common sleep challenges, and the strategies for better sleep. All right. So here's some questions for you. Um, how many hours of sleep do you typically get in a night? Do you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep? I know people that can fall asleep, but they wake up in the middle of the night and then they're up for 2 or 3 hours and can't fall back asleep. I don't know which is worse, not being able to fall asleep at all or waking up and not being able to get back to sleep. Do you feel rested when you wake up in the morning or are you still tired? Do you rely on substances like caffeine or alcohol to either fall asleep or to stay awake? And do you have a regular bedtime routine? And is your sleep schedule consistent even on the weekends? And do you wake up often during the night? And why, if you do, why do you wake up? And then how do you feel emotionally and physically during that day? So those are some of the questions that you can ask yourself, and the answers that you give yourself may be a sign of how you sleep. So we're going to talk about better sleep, better you today. All right. So we're going to start with the stages of sleep. And it's interesting. It's kind of broken down into 3 stages of sleep, but then we have a fourth one. And this is something I didn't realize is that this is a pattern. It's not like this cycle here. This is a sleep cycle. It's not like the sleep cycle is one time during the night. You can actually go through that sleep cycle a number of times during the night. So our first stage of sleep is a light sleep. And so this initial stage is when we are transitioning from wakefulness to sleep. It is the shortest period of the sleep cycle. And hopefully, it's lasting only a few minutes from when you're awake to when you go to sleep. And this is when the body begins to relax and our muscles activity slows down, our eye movements slow down, and this is kind of where we will use this as the buffer to ease our body into a deeper sleep, and it helps disengage us from our surroundings. And I don't know about you, but I know that I feel sometimes it's like, wow, I was awake and poof, I was asleep. So that's probably that first stage of light sleep that we're in. There is a second stage of light sleep, which is basically a continuation of the first stage, but it's a little bit deeper than the first stage, and it accounts for a significant portion of the total sleep time that we have. So approximately 45 to 55% of our total sleep time as adults is in this stage 2 light sleep. And so during this stage, our eye movements stop altogether, our heart rate slows down, and our body temperature decreases. And also, our brain waves slow down. And we could have occasional bursts of rapid waves, which are called sleep spindles. And we could have a sudden sharp wave of brain activity called the K complex. And so this is where we are strengthening our brain connections and consolidating memories. And so the way that I was taught to think about this was, you can imagine that you had a whole day's worth of information. So if today we're catching all this information, what happens during that light stage 2 sleep is our brain is taking all of those thoughts and everything that we gathered during, maybe they'll call them files that we gathered during the day, and putting them into the file cabinet so that it can remember them and know, kind of file it away. And so you want to have enough time in this light sleep to be able to file everything away. And if you don't get that sleep and you don't actually go into that stage, and your brain doesn't file everything away, it's not there anymore. So this is really important for us. And it also, when we go into that stage, it actually prepares us to enter into the stage 3, which is our deep sleep. And so this is our deepest phase of what I'll call non-REM sleep. And it's crucial for restoring as a restorative a part of our sleep. And when they're in this deep sleep, it's actually hard to wake them. And if you do wake them, they're very disoriented. So this is probably, if you've ever been had a night storm, and somebody says to you, "Oh, did you hear all that ruckus or the storm last night?" And you say, "No, I didn't hear it." You were probably in a deep sleep at that point. I had a neighbor of ours. I was talking to him a couple weeks ago, and he says to me, "Yeah, did you hear all the coyotes last night?" I'm like, "No." And my daughter had heard it too, and I thought, she says, "Did you hear all those dogs? I don't know what was going on." And the neighbor said to me, "Oh, did you hear all those coyotes?" So I must have been in a very deep sleep at that stage. And so when we are in this stage 3 deep sleep, our brain waves have slowed down to what is a delta wavelength. So it's a very low wavelength. And this is the time when our body is repairing and growing tissue and building bone and muscle and strengthening our immune system. So this is where we're doing a lot of our regenerative work on our body. And so this is a very important part of sleep for physical recovery, our immune function, and our energy restoration. So it also helps our cognitive functions like memory be consolidated, and it also helps with brain detoxification. And so then when we're finished, I guess, there's additionally, after we go through stage 3, there is this REM. I guess our sleep cycle culminates with the REM, which is the rapid eye movement sleep. And this is where we are dreaming and where most of the dreaming occurs. And this cycle, this 4 kind of pillar cycle, continues several times throughout the night. And so the reason why it cycles is it's crucial for restful and restorative sleep experience. And I don't know, I'm not an expert. I don't know a lot about dreams, I will say. But I know for me, I don't remember a lot of my dreams. So I don't know if you realize or how often, that means something about my REM sleep. Maybe yours. How do you find? Do you dream? I know some of my kids can talk about vivid dreams quite often, but when I remember them, it's usually because I awoke from that REM sleep is when for me at least, in my experience, when I remember them. All right. So that's kind of how the cycle works. And then I guess the question would next be, what are the benefits of getting a good night's sleep? Let me go. So here are the reasons why you want to get a good night's sleep. If you haven't already figured it out from your experience or from what we've already talked about, the sleep cycle, the first thing is it enhances our brain function. Sleep plays a critical role in consolidating memories. This is what I said, that memory bank and getting remembering things. And it also, having adequate sleep improves our concentration, our productivity, and our cognitive function, and helps us perform better during the daily activities and when we're doing a decision making. Our sleep helps to boost our immune function, and so it strengthens our immune system and enhances our body's ability to fight off infections and disease. Sleep promotes emotional and mental health, and you kind of can figure that one when you think about a child, and when a toddler is cranky, usually it's because they need to have their nap, they need to sleep. Sleep helps us with mood regulation. It helps us to reduce mood disorders such as depression and anxiety. It also helps to lower our stress levels and help to better control our blood pressure and inflammation. And we know that inflammation is something that, as it builds up, chronic inflammation, when it builds up, is where chronic disease comes from. Sleep also supports physical health. So adequate sleep is associated with reduced risk of heart disease and stroke. It's also good for weight management. So sleep affects our hormones that regulate hunger. And so I mean, by being able to have sleep, we can help maintain a healthy weight by regulating our appetite. It can help us with our athletic performance as well. So, give us better energy and more stamina, as well as be able to repair the body, muscles and tissue repair from athletic performance. And I don't know if you ever do any new activity and your muscles get sore, you can have that repair of those muscles that you're using for the first time in whatever, a long time or whatever, during your sleep. So it's important. And sleep actually enhances our overall longevity. So having regular, restful sleep is associated with a longer lifespan and better quality of life. And so then also it can help us with our emotional and social intelligence. It can help us with our kind of ability to recognize social cues and to process emotional information. And so that from that way, it can help with our emotional intelligence and our social life, and our relationships that we have with people. It can help us with our daily functioning. So um, we do actually, it'll actually prevent us from, if we get a good night's sleep, we'll have less chance of having what they call micro sleeps, which is actually brief moments of sleep that occur when you're awake. And so, if you think about it, these little micro sleeps can be dangerous if they're occurring while you're operating heavy machinery or you're driving or something like that. And I know when I used to work in my corporate job, there would be times when I would only get a couple hours of sleep preparing for a big meeting or something, finishing a report or what have you, a client deadline. And I know there would be times when I would actually be so tired that I would fall asleep for just a few seconds at my computer. And I know for me, when I'm watching TV with the kids at night, I can definitely go into those micro sleeps as well. And then sometimes end up having a nap too. And so, when you talk about all that, having good sleep can actually uh, improve your alertness, which can lead to preventing accidents, whether it's in your workplace or when you're driving, or, just sometimes, you just, I guess, I call it sleeping awake. You could be chopping vegetables, or I've done it, where you forget to take your finger out of the door when you're closing the door and slam your finger on the door. So hopefully, if you're alert, you're going to have less likely chance of having accidents and do some of those things. And then the last thing is that sleep helps support our growth and development. So during our deep sleep phase, our body releases growth hormones, which are essential now, especially for children. It's essential for their growth and development. And so those are some of the benefits of her sleep. And I honestly think it's kind of like good nutrition. We all kind of have an idea that good sleep is good for us. But this is a good reminder, I think, of all the benefits of getting of sleep. So, what are some of the common sleep challenges? Oh, so one of them is insomnia. And this is where you could have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. Maybe you're waking up too early and not being able to go back to sleep. So I know when I have trouble sleeping or falling asleep, it's usually because my mind is racing and I can't shut it off. So stress, anxiety, hormonal imbalances, lifestyle habits, and certain medical conditions will result in insomnia. And so, this is where you can have fatigue, mood swings, mood disturbances, decreased performance, and it can also exacerbate any health problems that you have. So, all of those things that we talked about on the last slide. Then the next one is sleep apnea. So this is actually a sleep disorder where your breathing stops and starts during sleep. And it's um, the most common type is an obstructive sleep apnea where the muscles intermittently relax, and block the airways. And so when you are, I guess some of the causes could be if you're overweight, you could have some anatomical variation that causes it. It could be allergies, enlarged tonsils or adenoids in children. And I know with sleep apnea, um, it could lead to heart problems, high blood pressure, risk of stroke, and also daytime sleepiness and fatigue. And, if you have sleep apnea, this is where you can go and get tested. If you go and see a sleep specialist and get tested, and usually they put you on a CPAP machine, is what it's called, so that you can get a restful sleep. And I know I had a friend who had sleep apnea and was unable to sleep without the CPAP machine. It became basically an extension of that person, of this guy, because he couldn't sleep without his machine at all. There's restless leg syndrome. And so this is a neurological disorder where you have this irresistible urge to move your legs, and it causes uncomfortable sensations. So this usually will occur either in the evening or at night when you're sitting or laying down. And it's something that they're not sure what the cause is, but they are thinking that it can be linked to iron deficiency, kidney failure, pregnancy, and some medications. And I do have a friend who has the restless leg syndrome, has had it pretty much all her life. So it can definitely disturb sleep and your quality of life. And I know she takes a medication to, uh, and she really has to have this medication. Otherwise, she can't sleep at all because of this restless leg syndrome. There's narcolepsy, which is basically overwhelming daytime drowsiness and a sudden attack. Basically, you just fall asleep. And they're not sure of the exact cause of what narcolepsy, but it definitely involves a loss of brain cells and some chemicals that regulate the wakefulness. And so this is something, if you have it, I mean, it can be pretty serious, because I think when it happens, it's very, very sudden, and you basically just fall asleep. So definitely, if you have narcolepsy, you need to be very careful because again, there's the danger of falling asleep while you're driving or operating machinery or anything like that. And there are circadian rhythm sleep disorders, which is basically problems with the sleep wake cycle. And so you can't, you actually don't get a sleep wake cycle. And so some of this can be caused by things like if you're traveling, that's the whole jet lag thing. If you are a shift worker, and so some days you're working late and you're working all night, and then maybe on the weekends you're up during the day. So you just don't have a way to regulate those circadian rhythms. And also changes in the environment as well. Or just even with your job. And I mentioned it for myself, is there's times when I didn't get enough sleep, but that was because of some work thing. But there are people that again have different schedules depending on the day, where they have to be up earlier some days and up late other days. And so your body just can't regulate itself. And so this is where you can end up with insomnia, or you can be excessively tired during the day, and that all will impact your um, well-being and your health. There is this parasinomias, which is actually just, I would call it abnormal movements, behaviors, emotions, and dreams that occur while you're trying to fall asleep, while you're sleeping, or during some stages of sleep. So this could be sleepwalking, night terrors, nightmares, and sleep paralysis, and some REM sleep behavior disorders. I know actually, we were at a hotel with one of my cousins many years ago, and we were still up, but she was sleeping in the bedroom. And I'll never forget this. She got up, was in her pajamas, and walked out the door. It's like, what is going on? I was like in shock. So and then all of a sudden, about 5 seconds after she walked out the door, and of course the door locks behind, she's knocking on the door. She had no idea. She walked right out of the hotel room in her sleep. And I know I've done it where I kind of half asleep gone to the fridge to get something. And then I get there and I'm going, why am I at the fridge? So maybe I had a calling to walk to the fridge for sure. I know if you've ever experienced sleep paralysis where you're trying to wake up, but you can't move, that is can be very frightening because you're trying to move and get up and you can't. One of our dogs actually has sleep paralysis, and it's kind of cute, but I don't know if it's cute to him, where he's basically asleep and he doesn't move, even though he's trying to wake up. He's just not waking up. But we give him a few minutes. That's usually when we trim his nails because he doesn't he doesn't he doesn't react because he's basically can't. But it's not funny. It's definitely uh, can be scary and can be dangerous too. Some of these things. So if you know that you have that, I think you need to probably have a way to deal with it because those are definitely not very fun. And then the other thing that can prevent you from sleeping is chronic pain, especially if you've got pain when you're trying to fall asleep or if you're trying to stay asleep. So one that comes to mind for me is arthritis. Could be a back pain, fibromyalgia, inflammatory bowel disease, and so this can really impact your sleep and lack of sleep. And I know I've had times where it's not often, but I've had times where I found that I had a little bit of arthritis in my hips or something, and it definitely will take me longer to go to sleep. But I have to say, I'm going to just put a little shout out here because I've been following the um, program from the Eat Real to Heal book. And since I started that at the beginning of the year, I have not had any arthritis or any issues with that. And we're talking almost 5 months now, 5 months. So I'm really excited that it's one of those things that it wasn't chronic and there all the time, but it's like, hey, I haven't had any of those aches and pains in the last little while. So that's all good. So in some things, you can reverse some of those chronic pains, not all I'm saying, but some of those, especially if it's related to arthritis, by really improving your diet. Okay, so how can we have better sleep? Oh, that's the next step. Hang on. Better sleep. So some of the strategies: optimize your sleeping environment. So you should make sure it's dark. You can use blackout curtains, an eye mask. And so especially if you are a shift worker and you're trying to sleep during the day, you might need those things. You can reduce noise by wearing earplugs or have a white noise machine if you need that. Just create a serene environment. Uh, Cool your temperature in your room. Believe it or not, the ideal temperature for sleep is actually 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 15 to 19 degrees Celsius, because cooler temperatures promote better sleep. And so now we have programmable thermostats. So you can program your thermostat. If you go to bed at, let's say, 10 o'clock, you can program your thermostat to go down at 11. And then if you get up at, let's say, 6 o'clock, then you could program it so that the thermostat goes back up to your daytime temperature or room temperature at around 5:30, so that when you wake, it's not freezing in your room. But that's a good way to do it. And then invest in a good quality mattress and pillows and good bedding so that you can get good sleep. Because I think there's nothing worse than sleeping on a mattress. And that's not just bad for your sleep, it's probably bad for your back too, and all that stuff. Establish a consistent sleep schedule if you can. And I know for some people, like with shift work and stuff, it's not always easy, but try and have a regular wake up time. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on the weekends, because that consistency does reinforce your sleep wake cycle. And if you can have a pre sleep routine, do something that will relax your body prior to sleep. So your body has a signal to show that it's time to wind down and go to bed. And so this could be reading, taking a warm bath, or some gentle stretching. You'll notice it doesn't say watch on your phone or be on your phone. And I'm going to tell you why after I talk about exercise. So you need to mind your diet as well and your exercise. So avoid eating heavy meals and taking stimulants within 2 to 3 hours of your bedtime. Avoid caffeine and nicotine late at the day, because that can interfere with your ability to go to sleep. Limit your alcohol. So alcohol can actually help make you relax, but by the same token, it interferes with your sleep cycle once you're asleep. And then also regular exercise is good for helping you to fall asleep faster and enjoy a deeper sleep. But be careful. Having rigorous exercise too close to your bedtime could also have the opposite effect, because you're now awake and you can't, your body needs time to wind down and you didn't give it enough time. And these are all things that you will find for yourself. I'm also going to note that if you eat too close to a heavy meal or a large meal close to your bedtime, your body doesn't have the time to digest all of um, the food that you took in, and so it's going to be doing the digestion while you are sleeping. And if you are digesting while you are sleeping, all those other beautiful restorative processes that your body goes through, all of the energy. So your body has so much energy. And if you're using your energy to digest your food at night, it doesn't have the energy left to do all that other stuff that it wants to do with your brain and your restorative for your muscles and your cells and everything, and your detoxification. And when it can't do that because it's spending its time doing the digestion, then you're really closing down the window of time that you can restore your body. So it's really important to try to have at least 2 to 3 hours, more like maybe 3 to 4 hours before, after you eat your last meal of the day. So this would also be if you're snacking a lot, at night, your those snacks will be digested while you're sleeping, and you are potentially robbing your body of the chance to restore during the night, and it can impact your health. Now we're going to get to the exposure to light, and that means managing your blue light. So exposure to light in the evening can make it difficult to fall asleep. And so the prolonged use of things like our apps and all of those things and our phones. It's also, there's the electric magnetic frequency can disrupt our regulation of our body. And also these blue lights and all these screens that we have that emit these lights can actually hamper our ability to fall asleep. And so if you can spend some time in natural light during the day and have natural light in your home as much as possible, that will be better for you. And ditch the screen time before you go to bed. Not a good thing at bedtime. And the recommendation is turn your phone off and have it out of your room. It's actually not good when you wake up and your mind is in you're still in an alpha or alpha state when you wake up. As soon as you go to your phone and you look at your messages, you've put yourself into a beta or high beta, and you're starting to get into your daytime processing. It's really good for us to have some time to kind of adjust and have just that peace for probably an hour or so in the morning where we're not switched on to all of those technology and checking our emails and all of that stuff. So I challenge you to leave the phone. Now, I use my phone. I can turn my phone off and put it on. I put my phone on do not disturb from 10 p.m. till 10 a.m. And so any emails or messages that come into me, I don't see them until 10 a.m. the next morning. So I've turned off that way. I do use my phone for my alarm. And so that's something I'm thinking about going back to a good old alarm clock back in the old days, when we used to use an alarm clock. Because it's interesting how you get used to some of those things. And I know with the alarm clock and the snooze button and all of those things. So those are some things to keep in mind for your sleep. And then, when you're going to bed, do some mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Not going to go into this because we spent 2 days talking about mindfulness and meditation. And you could find those practices to help you out. Limit your naps. If you're going to nap during the day, have a 10 to 20-minute nap and avoid doing it late in the day if you can. I know if I have sometimes if I have a nap, especially, I find that it kind of makes me groggy and harder to wake up. So there's kind of days. I think Saturday is my nap day because Saturday is my day that is for whatever I want to do. I just kind of let it flow. So that's usually when I have my naps. The other time, well, usually it's on Saturday too, is falling asleep in the evening while watching TV. Those are kind of mine. Um, create yourself a sleep routine. So when you're going to bed, again, technology free, at least an hour before bed helps. It gets rid of that blue light. And then all that content that we bring in stimulates um, our brain, and we want to start winding down if we can. And then if you are finding that you have trouble going to sleep, you've got some of these strategies aren't working for you, and your sleep is really compromised, seek professional help if you need to. I think I mentioned the sleep apnea, some of those things. You really should make sure that if you're really having trouble with the sleep, that you get some help for it, for sure. All right. And we know that it's very important to have good sleep, better sleep for a better you. Any questions about this little class on sleep? Yay, Kathy.
This is really more of a comment. I'd like to share a personal, if that's
Oh, I'd love
okay.
to. Yeah, for sure.
So I started feeling very arthritic. I felt it in my hands and in my arms, it just in the upper part of my body. And so I made an appointment to see an arthritis rheumatology arthritis doctor, and I get to see her, and she starts. I can't remember where she started pressing, but it wasn't all my fingers. It was like certain joints of like the bottom, like the pinky, the ring, and the middle finger, and then my calves, and she said, "You don't have arthritis. You're not getting enough deep sleep."
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow. And I thought that was so interesting because I'd been taking some things that were over the counter thinking it was arthritis, and I needed to get to bed earlier. But the problem was is I didn't have I was very anxious at that time, so I was kind of watching the Hallmark channels, the ones that make you feel so wonderful, so it was a cycle. But I thought that was I just wanted to share it with you that, if you think you have arthritis, maybe you don't.
Wow. So maybe, in addition to the good nutrition, I've been getting more sleep, and, that's the reason that my, uh, aches and pains have gone away. Yeah, that's interesting. And so how did you find getting more sleep, and getting into that deep sleep?
It took away the discomfort, and now what I realize when I've got, something that keeps me up till, like, 3 in the morning, the next day,
Oh, wow.
it's back, and I just know I need to start getting back in better sleep, and it really it's very helpful.
Yeah. That's, very good. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So I think it just highlights how important our sleep is. And the experts would say we should get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a day. And I know for me, I don't always get that much, but I feel like I'm good with 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Well, one of the comments I've heard from somebody who is in the health profession that, they can get by with 6 hours of sleep, but when they started getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep on a regular basis, they saw just how much better the quality of their life and their daily activities were just by getting more sleep. So you may be getting by and you're doing well, just like me, but maybe you need to boost it up to try and get to at least 7 hours of sleep a night and see the difference it makes in your life. And it's a challenge for everyone to look at your own sleep patterns and how can you improve the sleep that you're getting, because it is a big can be a game changer by getting the sleep.
Yeah. So I have something to say.
All right.
Studies. I read a study recently said women need more sleep compared to men. And there's this thing called beauty sleep. You
Hmm.
know that when you sleep in the afternoon, when you take naps in the afternoon, did you notice your skin glows? Like you get this glowy skin and stuff. It really works for me though. When I sleep, take naps in the afternoon.
So that's
It seems,
your way of doing it is
yeah,
napping.
my skin is brighter, clearer. I'm more happier because I've had enough rest. And usually, I like sleeping for like 8 hours or more
Eight.
because I feel okay. Then I'm fully rested. So when I wake up, I'm more happier because I know I've had enough rest. So it works for me. Sleep really does the magic. It does too.
Yeah. Well, good for you that you're getting at least 8 hours of sleep a night. That's exactly where we should be, is at least that. And if you're feeling rested when you get up, then you're in a good place. And if a nap works for you and it's part of a kind of a regular routine, that's good as well. And the whole idea is it's about routine and having a
Yeah.
routine that you follow for sure. And if you're having trouble getting to bed, I know, like for me, it's like, where did the time go? And I'll look and it's like it's 11 o'clock. By the time I get to bed, it's midnight. And then I'll say, so one of the things you can do about things like that is a little more planning, and put an alarm on your phone. We all have smartphones now. Put an alarm that at 10 o'clock to say, hey, time to start winding down, and remind yourself until you get into the habit of going to bed earlier. And then at that point, I'm going to say you probably will appreciate that extra time of sleep for
Okay.
sure.
I have something to say. Okay.
Whee!
All right. I actually noticed that when I'm on my period, I find it harder to fall asleep. Is there something that relates to period and sleep? Because that moment I can be up for like 2 a.m. I just can't sleep. I'm just up. I don't even know why. I just can't sleep.
Yeah,
And it
so
happens. I notice the patterns. It's usually when I'm close to my period, or maybe I'm on my period or stuff. It happens like that.
yeah. And it probably, because when we talked about the periods and all the hormone changes that we have, it probably is related to the changes in your hormones that's causing that, because there are a lot of swings in the hormones during that 28-day cycle, especially right at that time. So I'm guessing, I'm not an expert, but I'm guessing that it has a lot to do with your hormones. And so does it impact, how you feel? Yeah. It's hard. It's like when I was pregnant, there was kind of a cycle too of sleep cycle was definitely impacted when I was pregnant with my kids, all of them. And you hear that from women, and some of it gets caused later on in the pregnancy by the discomfort because you've got the weight of the baby, and you can't always get comfortable because you can't sleep on your back, you can't sleep this way, da 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 da. But definitely hormones can play a role in that too.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to be back tomorrow in the kitchen, and then we're going to talk about juicing for tomorrow. So stay tuned, and we will see you tomorrow.
All right.